Okay, tip number 3, Simon.
Tip number 3, don't book anything. Don't book anything.
I can imagine that would fill a lot of people with anxiety going
that's where the magic.
How'd you get on the flight?
Well, obviously you book. Okay, so I've never booked a flight with more than definitely not a month's notice.
Really?
Simon, as one of the best sort of travel vloggers in the world,
Appreciate that.
I think you are the best equipped to share some top travel tips with our audience, because I think I've told you this before, but like it sounds cheesy, but you literally inspire me to want to go out and travel. Like when I watch one of your videos, I'll be laid there in bed putting it on, and I'll say to Fee, like, we just need to book something now, like doesn't matter where it is. So I think you'll inspire so many people out there to travel, and there's probably people out there doing it purely because of your content. So Simon Wilson's top 5 travel tips, have you got any?
I have, mate. I'm going to get them out.
I'm looking forward to this.
I actually posted these not long ago on Instagram.
And I've actually, as I don't really travel, but I've got some little tips I've written down there as well. So I'm going to see how different these are.
I have a feeling his might be a bit better.
So obviously there's a lot of different tips in different sort of areas.
Yeah.
But I would say these are my 5, right? So the number 1 thing is you should speak to everyone.
Right.
Just speak to everyone. Everyone out there, whether they're from here or there, or whether they're rich or they're poor, whether they can speak English or can't, everyone has their own story. And you should ask them what their story is, because it'll be fascinating. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with Dubai. Like, I always speak to like the Filipinos there and the Indian people, and they say, oh, I used to come from here. I think that they're the best people. Do you get what I mean?
Right.
You should speak to everyone.
Do you ever get nervous speaking to people or not?
Never, to be honest.
Nah.
No, like I love it. Like that's what fire. Like even I'll be like going into that. Like, so obviously we're only human, right? I'll wake up some mornings, I'm like, oh God, I need to turn the camera on today, and I've got this mammoth journey ahead of me, and I'm just like, I can't be bothered. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then obviously I'm like, right, come on, let's go. Turn the camera on, start filming. Soon as I speak to somebody, I'm just like, this is why I do this. This is why I do this.
Yeah.
I love it, mate.
Wow.
Like when you speak to people, just from the controller on the train to, I don't know, anybody, mate.
Yeah.
Like even, and obviously like that last video with the train, I keep bringing it up, but like, obviously I put a 30-minute video out. The conversations I had on that train that don't make the vlog.
Yeah.
Like Amish people on there and stuff like that. And I ask them, like, where are you going? And they're like, oh, I'm going to Mexico. I'm like, what for?
Yeah.
And, you know, so speak to keep it short, speak to everybody, because you don't know where that leads to. You don't know what happens. And that's the beauty of travel, isn't it?
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's probably my number 1 thing I love most about your videos, when you film those interactions, and you learn that the majority of people are good. The majority of people are
100%.
nice.
And you know what? Sometimes I do come across people who are not so good. Do you know what I mean? But you've got to sort of understand that you don't know what's going on in those people's lives either. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, everything's an experience.
Yeah.
You should speak to everybody.
How do you get around filming people like straight away, like when you go up to them? Because
honestly, I don't say anything. I just keep the camera under my arm, and because you want it to be real.
Yeah.
Like that's
what? So it's you're not holding the camera.
Oh no, I'm like, oh well, it depends. If they stood there, and obviously I'm filming, I'm like saying, oh, like obviously they know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like if I'm having an interaction with like the ticket officer at the booth, I've just got my camera just resting on it, and I'm like, oh hi mate, can I have the? And they haven't got a clue.
Really?
Yeah, I never tell anybody. But I do that because I want it to be real.
Yeah, that's actually natural.
That's like, it's not, mine stuff's not produced. It's all one hit. Boom, boom, boom. It's like, and that's what I love about it. As soon as I said, oh, excuse me, I'm filming, do you mind? They're either going to say no.
Or they'll change even if they're not trying.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, so I'm just like, and then obviously, like even the Argentina video, I was filming this guy for ages, right? For ages. And after about half an hour of speaking to him, he said, right, so do you want to like film anything in here or something? He was like, oh, do you want me to show? And I said, I'll be honest with me, I've just filmed that whole half an hour. I don't need to film anything else.
Right, yeah.
And he was like, oh, Jesus. He was like, fair enough. So, like some people you have to, because I've got a video coming out that I've got to blur people's faces because I've not told them. And obviously I don't feel comfortable just in some situations. So again, each to their own. But I want it to be like you're watching my video through my eyes. You know what I mean? And it be real. So yeah, don't.
And that is how it feels and comes across. How do you frame it? You must have had some years of doing that because there's frames.
I've been for 5-6 years.
Yeah,
so,
because it's framed well, isn't it? Just for a camera.
But sometimes the funny bit is because I'm like holding it under my arm and it's like a big camera. Sometimes people are like looking at me and they're looking at the camera and looking at me and they go, "Are you filming?" And I go, "No." I go, "Are you filming?" And I'm like, "No." I'm just like, "No."
This is how I hold my camera.
Yeah, and they're like, "Okay." I'm just like, "Why are you holding the camera like that?" But then sometimes like I'll like sort of move the camera so they're like, "Oh, okay, maybe he's not." Then because he just posted it and I just slowly bring it back.
Love it. Okay, that's tip 1. What's tip 2?
Tip 2. Right, tip 2 is try traveling alone if you've never done it. I remember a vivid story of when I worked for a company when I was 22 and we were doing like goals for the year. And my goal was, I was like, I'd love to go to New York for Christmas, right? That was my goal that year.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. And I was just like, who am I going to go to New York for Christmas with? Do you know what I mean? And then I was like, so then I changed it. And my boss went to me, he went, "Why have you changed it?" And I went, "Well, I've got no one to go with." And he's like, "Why didn't you go on your own?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Go to New York for Christmas on my own." I was like, "Are you winding me up?" And he's like, "Mate, I'd go." He said it was amazing. It'd be amazing. And like that conversation always stuck with me. And obviously I travel alone everywhere, all the countries I've ever, obviously, you know, travel with Bald or Harold or whatever, but like everywhere I've gone has been on my own.
Right.
So, and there's just, I can't tell you, like, they say like travel's the best education, don't they? And I don't want to sound cheesy with that, but what you learn and just personal growth and just everything. It's like you say, like, do you get nervous speaking to people? No.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And why? Because of travel. Do you know what I mean?
So did you have to learn that confidence, or have you always been fairly confident?
I've always been confident, but then you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So like when I first started doing YouTube and traveling alone, like I would think nervous is a bit more. I wouldn't say I was nervous, but I was a bit apprehensive. Do you know what I mean? I'd be like, Jesus, when I did New York to LA with no money for the first time, I'm on that plane going to New York, and I'm a bit like, oh my God, like how am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, that like talk doesn't come in anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not there. It's just like, let's just go with it.
Yeah.
And traveling alone does that. And I think, you know, it in a weird way, you sort of become best mates with yourself.
Right.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
And the thing is, like, growing up, I was a very, like, overthinker. You know, I was very, like, 100 mile an hour, sort of classic ADHD sort of thing. I don't know, traveling alone just gives you this sort of inner peace.
Fair enough.
Just like, where you just, like, you know, you don't have to rush around, or you don't have to, I don't know, it's weird, mate. But I would say travel alone. Everybody I speak to as well who's travelled alone sort of understands what I'm saying. It's like when you've travelled alone, you sort of get it,
right?
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think to go somewhere on your own, I don't know, like if you'd feel like that, but like you should think, I just go to Rome with myself for the weekend. Do you know what I mean? You're like, what?
I've never done it, but I like the idea of it.
Honestly, mate, it's amazing. And that goes into speaking to everyone. Let's say you two went away together. You'd be having banter and chatting with each other.
Yeah.
Where if you went on your own, you wouldn't have an option other than to speak to other people because you're on your own.
Yeah, right.
So then all of a sudden, it's like you're speaking to, I don't know, Fernando in Argentina because you're on your own. Fernando's like, I'm heading down to a local farm. Do you want to come? And you're like, yeah, sweet, let's go. And then you go on this adventure that you would never have gone on if you hadn't have chatted to him or been with someone else. Do you know what I mean?
Amazing, yeah.
So, I'd say that.
Yeah, would you ever travel on your own?
I don't know. I've done the like 10-hour megabus from Bristol to Norwich. Does that count?
Where's your fucking vlog channel? Okay, tip number 3, Simon.
Tip number 3: don't book anything. Don't book anything.
I can imagine that would fill a lot of people with anxiety going
that's where the magic.
How'd you get on the flight?
Well, obviously you book. Okay, so I've never booked a flight with more than. Definitely not a month's notice.
Really?
I'd probably not even 2 weeks, to be honest.
Wow.
7 concerts in 7 days. I had the idea on the Monday. I did it on the Thursday. So it's like I've never really. I don't Dubai flight booked it 3 days before. Like book. I rarely book a return flight I just booked the flight like a day before I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for home now. Book the flight.
Does that never get you in trouble with like trying to get into countries when they can see you've not got a return flight booked?
Sometimes you've got to book like a fake one. So they like.
So you book one
a
just so
flight,
they will.
Yeah, but I'll book like. So say for example, I fly to America. I might book like a 20 quid flight from America to Mexico. So they think I'm going, but obviously I'm not going to stay there anyway. But there's ways around.
Yeah.
But
Well, because they want you to have a return, do they?
Well, because if not, you're gonna having just a flight there makes it look like you're just going to illegally stay there.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to leave the country,
Right.
you've not got like your work visa or anything because you're not going for work or whatever. They're just going to assume you're going to stay.
Yeah.
No, you're right there because that's what they do. They say like, oh, where's your return flight and stuff. So you're normally all right, but obviously there's that one guy who's like, oh yeah, have you got where's your return flight? And then you just book a 20 quid flight just to cover that.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, I'd say don't book anything. Go with the flow. That's where the magic happens. That's where life happens. That's life, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like booking a holiday and going on an all-inclusive for a week.
Yeah.
Just know what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you'll have a great time, but like going on an adventure. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't book anything. Just see where you're staying. Like even with Dubai last week, like I'm going around Dubai and I'm like, sometimes I've not even booked a hotel. Do you know what I mean? I've not even booked a hotel, or I've not booked, and I'm just like, oh, where shall I stay tonight? And I'll just go on the app and I'll book something.
Fair enough.
Just go with it.
Yeah.
Just go with it.
Okay.
I think Tunisia felt like that for us a bit because that was all quite last minute, wasn't it? Like we went for a reason, but so much random shit happened that I've never had happen on an actual holiday.
Yeah. And I took it, like I said, Simon's videos were the main inspiration for like us talking to everyone. We just tried to talk to everyone we could because of your vlogs. Like we thought, let's do that.
I was getting in cars with random people for lifts because I didn't know where to go. So I've never done that
and
before.
how did you find that then?
They were lovely. Like everyone was so nice. And then we had the guy on the last day that was just an absolute hero for us. Like people are just class, aren't they?
They can be for sure. Yeah. Tip number 4.
Tip number 4: don't be close-minded about countries. Do you know what I mean? In the UK, classic. If I say to someone, I'm going to Iraq, they're like, you're going where?
Yeah.
I'm like, Iraq. Iraq's mega. Do you know what I mean? Like, you go to Baghdad, it's a great place with great history, with great people, with great food. It's a lovely place. Like, never once do you feel threatened. Okay, that, like, maybe the standards are a bit lower, do you know what I mean, in terms of hotels and stuff. But again, it just adds to the experience. So I would say, like, sort of just go somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like if you want to go there, don't let any outside factors sort of creep in.
Okay.
Because obviously we're told one thing and it's not the reality basically.
Right. Have you found that a lot? Like are there every country has, rightly or wrongly, has its like own stereotypes, doesn't it? So it's like
exactly.
The Irish might always get drunk, or the Germans might not have a sense of humor, like all these stereotypes.
Yeah.
Do you find that they can be accurate, or is it usually just no?
It's like the same. You know you get good and bad everywhere.
Right.
Like since the last time I came on, I've been to Syria.
Yeah.
I walked through Damascus, like in Syria, the capital, with my camera over my shoulder at 2 a.m. in the morning on my own. People, hey, how's it going? And they're drinking and they're having a laugh. Do you know what I mean? Like no problems whatsoever.
Yeah.
But, you know, you could be walking down Manchester at 2 a.m. in the morning and get your watch stolen or get stabbed. Do you know what I mean? Or get beaten up or mugged. Like, but then that could equally happen in Syria. And obviously you could have a great time in Manchester. So, you know, you'd have to just be unfortunate to go down the wrong street at the wrong time. But whether that's Manchester or Syria, it makes no difference.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So I just think, you know, be careful, but just don't live by what you hear.
Right.
You know, if you want to go there, just go.
Yeah. Okay. What was Syria like?
Amazing.
Was it? Yeah.
Oh, mate, you've never seen anything like it. It was class. The people are class. So hospitable. And the country has been devastated by the war, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, devastated.
Yeah.
Like, mate, I went all around it, but I was in, like, Aleppo, and Aleppo got flattened, and I'm literally stood in this specific thing, and it looks like a Call of Duty map. It's like, like the building's just rubble. Like, the whole place is just rubble.
Wow.
And the people are just amazing.
Really, yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Wow.
And just like, and there's such like a diverse of people there. Like, I was there Easter. There's like, you know, obviously it's in the Middle East, you know, more Muslim population.
Yeah.
There's like a Christian parade coming down the road and stuff for Easter Sunday and stuff. And like, I was like, oh wow, I thought everybody would be Muslim here.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, Christians, we all live in peace, we're all happy, and they're all like, mate, it's just mega, mate.
Yeah.
How do you find people take to you in these countries? Like when you've been to like Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, like a random Welsh boy walks in.
Yeah.
How do people find it when they see you for the first time? Is it confusion or do they just go with it straight away?
Yeah, I think I'd say they go with it. I would say obviously sometimes there's a bit of like, well, who's this guy? So especially like holding a camera and stuff. But then again, I read a book years ago and it was like, if you go into a shop and smile and say hello and shake someone's hand, what's that shopkeeper going to do? He's going to smile. He's going to shake your hand and say hello. If you go into the shop and go, oh, you're a... What's he going to do? He's going to get his back up and he's going to have a go, isn't it?
Right.
So you get out what you put in.
Yeah.
So if I'm going in friendly, oh, hey, I was going, people are sound. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so I would just say that really.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would say that.
Great tip so far. And number 5?
And the last one, this is a tough one, but I'd say never accept a no for an upgrade. Never accept no for an
So you
upgrade.
just keep pushing it.
Just keep pushing. Don't take no for an answer.
How many upgrades would you say you've had?
A lot.
Have you? What are we talking? Are we talking flights?
Like obviously it has changed a bit with flights now. Where I could used to blag it a lot easier than now.
What's changed? Do you think?
I just think it's just structures and stuff.
Oh,
like
is
that,
it?
Where
Yeah.
you could normally like go to Emirates and be like, oh, can I have an upgrade? And I think there'd be a button somewhere on that computer where they could just give it you. Where now I don't feel like they've got that option to do it.
Okay, right.
You get what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think if you spoke to someone on a certain day who was like, oh, you got on with them, they'd be like, yeah, go on, I'll do it. Where I don't like, that's not an option sort of anymore.
Okay.
But then I think with hotels, listen, hotels have always got an upgrade unless they're rammed because of an event.
Yeah.
So it's who you're speaking to and what you say, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
But how can you have the bottle to just keep pushing?
just gotta keep pushing and have a joke with it. Have a joke with it.
Well, so they go no, you go on.
I'll say like,
Come on.
well, it was like the other
Tickle.
Yeah. It was like the other day. It was like I wanted, like I always like when I order food places, I always like add extras or take something off or something. And the guy came over and I'm like, oh mate, like I don't want all of it. I just want this bit. And he's like, I don't think we can do that. I'm like, yeah, you can. And he's like, and then he's like, I don't think we can. He's like, I'll go and speak to the chef. I went, great. I said, if you speak to the chef and he says no, tell him to come speak to me. So, do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just pushing, it's just keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing.
Do you think that the reason why there's not this like easy process to give upgrades now is because you've personally fucked it?
I honestly, like, I'm not giving myself too much clout, but like trying to blag a free packies these days is tough. Like,
aren't you the guy who kept telling people how to do it?
Yeah.
It's like I almost feel like they have put processes in place.
Yeah.
Whether that's because of me, I don't know.
Right.
But like they definitely have. So you're not doing that anymore.